Whoa. Boy, did they end that one well. That's the Afro-Semitic Experience from their album, A Plea for Peace. And we're pleading today for communal peace and support. It's the Great Give, everybody. 36 hours where New Haven comes together and we donate money to as many nonprofits as we can at once as they compete for prizes and try to get the pot of over $1.75 million. 36-hour event, The Great Give, and here at WNHH-FM, we are hosting the Great Give Radiothon. And we're going one by one with groups to make your pitch for why you should give them money. And now we have Ben. What's your last name again, Ben? I'm sorry.
Ben Weiss.
Ben Weiss. And Ben, going to get close to that mic so you're almost touching it. Ben's from a group called Havenly, one of 406 groups competing for the money. Ben, what kind of poem did you bring for us today?
I brought The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus.
The New
Colossus.
New Colossus.
She wrote this poem when they were trying to fundraise to essentially furnish the pedestal for the Statue of Liberty.
Whoa, all right.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay.
Ben Weiss, let's hear it.
Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
One thing I love about what you did, Ben Weiss, was that you didn't pick the famous poem that Emma Lazarus wrote. You went a little deep for something we never heard before. And Ben Weiss is from a group called Havenly. We're doing the 36-hour Great Give. We're asking you to go to thegreatgive.org. Don't forget thegreatgive.org. And you'll see there a way to donate to as many as you want of 406 local nonprofits in New Haven. You can read about each one and donate directly right there. And Ben is from Havenly. So Ben, what is Havenly, and why did you pick that poem?
Sure. So I will start. I'll start with the poem question. I picked that poem. Well, actually, no. You need to know what Havenly is in order for it to make sense. So,
okay.
Havenly is a bakery which is collaboratively run by.
Yeah. I love you guys.
Yeah. So we're a bakery which is collaboratively run by local refugee chefs and Yale students. Our first product is baklava, which happens to be vegan, and it's been a total.
Why I eat it? Well, it's vegan.
It's vegan.
Because I'm a vegan who's a vegan.
Okay, can you explain to me what a vegan is exactly?
Beegan. What's one of the great ingredients in baklava?
Well, so there are walnuts, there is phyllo dough, there is sugar.
Sugar.
Well, so honey is also often used, but many cultures instead use this sort of caramelized sugar syrup.
Oh, okay, so I wasn't so smart there. Yeah, I have it with honey, and I'm a vegan who does have bee vomit in my food.
Well, we have no bee vomit in our food for those more stringent vegans out there.
Yeah, okay. So and there is a big fight in the vegan community because every community, no matter how small sectarian, needs to define itself as being against the other half.
No, absolutely. And bees are so important, so I get that they should be fought for.
So Ben, Havenly is less than a year old, correct?
Correct.
And what made you guys start it?
So essentially, it was started by a team of 3, myself included. The other 2 co-founders are Caterina Pisoni and Alessandro Luciano. And the 2 of them were seniors at Yale last year running a project out of the Yale Refugee Project. And their group was called the Employment Team. And so they were essentially pairing Yale students with local refugees looking for jobs and trying to help them with things like resume building, practice with sort of what does an interview look like, and then the job search in general. But I come from a food background. I love food and cooking with a deep passion, and that's been a part of my life ever since middle school. You know, it started with cooking for my friends and family and just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Chicago. I'm one of 4. Siblings are super important to me, and my sister is actually also in New Haven now, which means that New Haven is increasingly more and more of a home for me.
And you came here for Yale?
Correct.
You're still an undergrad?
Yeah, I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering.
And the year's over almost.
Yeah, the finals are happening this next week, but I was so excited to be able to come on the show and talk about the Great
So you
Give.
got this group and you're working with refugees, and of course it's a big cause in New Haven where Places like Indiana say you can't come here to refugees trying to get into America for better life, fleeing persecution. We've embraced refugees. We have the group IRIS, which is a national model for helping them resettle. And all sorts of sectors of community, including students at Yale, have formed groups to help welcome people like Havenly, which we're talking
Absolutely.
about right now in The Great Give. And we ask you to go to thegreatgive.org. And this is the time to go to Havenly.
Yeah.
Just look it up, Havenly. And Ben Weiss is here telling us about it. So it's been less
Sure.
than a year.
Right. And so you actually provided the perfect transition into the next part of the story, which is that, we on this Yale Refugee Project team are in this space, New Haven, which has embraced the refugee community in a way that's unparalleled across the nation. And we felt like it was sort of right to get engaged in that endeavor, since it's such a huge sort of issue that's championed in this community. And so I came onto this team with Alessandro and Katerina with that food-minded background. And at the same time, I also had the pleasure of meeting an incredible woman by the name of Nida Abbas, who is now our head chef and trainer, but I'm getting there. So Nida and Katerina had actually been paired together in a cultural companionship program run by Iris. In essence, Katerina was there to be Nida's friend, her advocate, and supporter in whatever she needed. The thing is that any time that me and Katerina showed up to Nida's house, we were greeted by this giant metal platter of food. I'm talking like 12 handmade dishes of just the most delicious, delicate, flavorful things of all time, right? And as someone who loves cooking, right, but is still,
And I've always noticed that whenever I'm talking to immigrants or refugees in New Haven, if I'm doing an article or just meeting,
sure,
it always starts with the food.
oh, absolutely,
and
first
people-
things first.
Yeah, it's the way you connect.
Even now, when we have Havenly meetings, it's food first.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I mean, she did it without breaking a sweat too, because she has 7 kids, right? And neither she nor her husband were able to find work though. And so here you have an extremely talented chef who knows what they're doing in the kitchen like no other, right? But isn't able to find work. And the question is why? Well, so female refugees in New Haven and more broadly everywhere face innumerable barriers to employment, whether that's linguistic, cultural, the fact that often childcare ends up in the hands of the female head of household, and lots of resettlement sort of strategies are targeted towards the head of household formally, which often is the male. And so what we realized was that as students, we were uniquely positioned in order to connect the dots and help people like Nida, who are already incredible chefs, gain access to the food employment industry. So in addition to being a food business that sells baklava that is in all sorts of local cafes and retailers, we are also a fellowship training program. So essentially other female refugee chefs looking to gain access to the food employment industry will join our team for 4 months, and they're working in the kitchen with Nida for production every so two days a week essentially. But then outside of that, they're also receiving trainings in a series of classes that focus on things like digital and financial literacy, tax law. They're also receiving a ServSafe certification, which you need in order to be sort of a food employee in New Haven.
Who gives that certification?
So we have 2 trained.
No, I mean who certifies?
Yeah, so we on the Havenly team have 2 trained food managers. So they take an exam, study, of course, first.
And is this a state licensing or a city licensing exam?
I'm not sure which regional extent it is. The team is 20 people large, and so as one of the co-founders and co-executive directors, I can happily rely upon my chef development team to know the nitty-gritty details of things. But yeah, the food licensing is really important for our chefs to be able to graduate from our program and then gain employment in other businesses within New Haven.
So how many folks have been in your program so far?
So like you said, we've only been around for a year, and the first iteration of the fellowship was actually this semester, which was so exciting. And we had 2 fellows, Fatin and Hala, who were fantastic. Hala actually just recently had a baby, which we're really excited about, and is currently on maternity leave, so she's finishing up the fellowship this summer. But yeah, it was a really important experience to sort of learn and figure out how can we best equip ourselves and prepare ourselves in order to make.
And it's a business too. Are you making revenue on this baklava?
Yeah. So in this month alone, we made over $6,500 just on the sale of the baklava, and all of the sales of our products go directly back to our chefs, minus the cost of the ingredients.
Right. How much of that? Like, what is the profit margin on that 6,500?
Profit margin is good, is what I'll say. And
10%, 20%.
So it roughly costs 20 to 40 cents to make a piece of baklava, and depending on where you get it, it's sold at a different price. Obviously, if you buy it directly from us, it'll be the lowest that it can be.
And then do you pay yourselves, or are you guys all volunteers?
Great question. So we have currently 1 full-time employee, which is Katerina, who is my co-founder and has stayed back to be the full-time executive director of Havenly. And so she is the only paid sort of not student, but recent graduate on the team. Otherwise, the 20 student volunteers, and myself included, are all not paid. So what that means is that we're this interesting combination of food business, nonprofit, which is also largely run by students, right? So the reason why we think that model is important is because there is an incredible wealth of skill in this student community, right? So I was trying to code our website, right? As a mechanical engineer, I have some coding background, but not nearly enough to do a good job of that. So instead of doing that for, the next 10 years and making a kind of cruddy product, I was able to reach out to my friends who are coders who connected me with the folks that I needed to get to know, and now they're on the team, right? And so we have this incredible pool of talent, and we see it as our responsibility to utilize that in order to give back to the community, but specifically around an issue that New Haven is already extremely engaged in. Iris, as you mentioned, is our formal partner.
And I love the two trends. So the one trend is in blue communities to embrace refugees and immigrants in general and find ways to help people become cherished members of our society, productive members. And the other trend is foodiness. I mean, young
Totally.
people, food justice, both appreciating a wider palette of cuisines, but also food justice. I know for young, because my daughter grew up like you and starting middle school, and it was the cooking all the time that got her through and all that. And
Absolutely.
And it's the artistic aspect of it, it's the nutritional aspect, and also part of being a global movement to shepherd the earth
Absolutely.
and to feed people better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it'd be helpful for me to perhaps talk a little bit about what the Great Give would mean to us financially.
Tell us about the Great Give. What if someone donates now and goes to the Great Give? Because right now you're listening to the Great Give Radiothon at WNHH, your home for community radio, 103.5 FM, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. And one by one, we're going with members of Great New Haven nonprofits, some of the 406 that are raising money over the 36-hour radiothon. And we're here with Ben Weiss of Havenly. And yeah, tell us why people, if they now go to thegreatgive.org and type in Havenly, what they're going to help you do.
Totally. So because of our model, as I mentioned, that all of the profits from the sale of baklava go directly back to our chefs, we rely upon fundraising and grants in order to fund the rest of the organization, the fellowship included. So in order to run the fellowship next year, which we hope to include 4 chefs, we need to raise roughly $20,000 on the Great Give. And in particular, the prize that we're going after is between 9 and 10 p.m. tonight. We're trying to engage as many donors as possible. So it's really not about necessarily the amount.
So you're picking a time which is sort of like morning for people who aren't in college.
Yeah. Well, 9 and 10 p.m. So if that's your morning, I support you.
If you're a kid. I mean, if you're a student in college, your clock tells
Absolutely.
you your day's just getting going.
Right, which is why we thought that would be a good time for us as a student organization to pick. But so anyway, between 9 and 10 p.m. tonight, if you donate, it really isn't about the quantity. It's about how many people can we get engaged and behind this organization. If we do that successfully, we will potentially win $10,000, and that could be huge for us. The things that this funding will go towards within the fellowship includes covering staffing, rent of our kitchen space, equipment, certifications and food safety exams, and teaching materials. And that's just sort of the basic needs of this fellowship in order to ensure that when our chefs exit our program, they're not only prepared to enter the food industry, but they are high quality, top of the line.
And is this a
applicants.
combination of people who would work for other enterprises and start their own?
So we focus specifically on job readiness. So these are folks that are looking to gain a job in the food industry.
And in addition to the fellowship, are other refugees involved in your program?
So the only other refugee who's full-time with us is our head chef, head trainer, and co-founder, Nida Abbas.
And who makes the baklava every day?
The baklava is all made by the refugee fellows and chefs. So Nida is in charge of production, but the fellows are helping her in the kitchen.
And they get paid?
Yeah, it's a paid fellowship, $15 an hour for 4 months, 2 days of production a week. And
where's the kitchen?
I was just about to say that. All of our production happens in our commercial kitchen partners. One of those partners is Catalina's Cupcakes. And
I was going to say everyone starts out at Catalina's on Whitney Avenue. They start the micro businesses.
Totally.
There.
I mean, there's a reason, and that reason is Kathy. Kathy owns Catalina's Cupcakes and is just one of the most incredible human beings I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. Not to mention her business is just such an inspiration to us. I mean, every time I go in there, it's just like overwhelmingly delicious smells.
She does have vegan cupcakes.
Yeah, I mean, she has all sorts of different things. You walk in,
get some props for that. That's why Bill Clinton stopped by.
On the counter. Yeah. But anyway, so all of the baking happens in these commercially licensed spaces in order to ensure that, not only is the food healthy and safe and clean, but also to prepare our fellows for what it's like to work in a real commercial kitchen space.
All right. Well, Ben Weiss, before we let you go, and we remind people to go to thegreatgive.org, and we're asking you for these 36 hours to go pick great New Haven nonprofits like Havenly and donate some money so that as a community, we can make each other stronger and pull each other up. Ben, any new product lines coming up, and where can people buy this baklava?
Absolutely. So the new product that is on the horizon is Kanafe, which is a crunchy
Never heard of
nest
that.
of shredded pastries, and it's also filled with Nutella. So you got to find that. And
How do you spell that?
Kanafe is Kanafeh, and you can
Alright.
find us at Elm City Market, Nika's, P&M, or a bunch of local cafes, including Book Trader, Cafe X, and Juicebox. But if you want to go on our website, havenlytreats.com, you can place an online order for anything from 2 to 500 plus
And
pieces.
do people order online?
Tons of people order every week. That's havenlytreats.com. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well. And
And
also,
do you mail any of those, or are they just in New Haven?
we are finalizing our national sales campaign, which will involve shipping, and so we'll keep you
Okay.
up to date on that.
So I know that people know absolutely nothing about your business. Love to give you advice. So I'll be one of those people.
Please do.
Why don't you try to run a Kanafe trend? Like start seeding that with search engine optimization and build a national audience for that product. A lot of people make baklava. They don't need you on the internet for that.
Sure.
But if you create your own content that you then spread on the web, you might be able to get a national male audience that's pretty big for this new food.
Totally, and that's what we're doing. If you check out our Instagram and Facebook, Havenly Treats.
All right. Ben Weiss, it was really nice to chat with you.
Nice to
Thanks
chat
for
with you as well.
helping
Thanks
us start
so
off
much.
this 36 hours of the Radiothon on WNHH FM. We're going to be right back with you in 5 minutes or 8 minutes with the next group, New Haven Reads, one of the great organizations in New Haven. So sit tight, listen to some Afro-Semitic experience here on WNHH FM, The Great Give 2019.